Her deadly touch kills instantly, but his kiss awakens something within her. The air in the execution hall of the Dravari flagship, Star Sovereign, was thick with tension and the metallic tang of dread. Envoy Carter, humanity's last representative, stood amid a sea of alien officials, isolated not by reverence, but by primal caution. "You are about to witness Dravari judgment," murmured the ambassador beside him, her voice filtered through a translator. "Few outsiders do. Fewer still survive to recount it." Carter's heart hammered against his ribs. Every movement in the chamber was measured, deliberate. An alien ballet choreographed by centuries of ritual. The gallery of Dravari spectators, officials in shimmering exosilks, stood silent on tiered platforms that curved inwards like the jaws of some ancient predator. His own breath seemed too loud, echoing back off the vaulted bone-white walls. He forced himself to look ahead, jaw clenched, sweat trickling along his temple. Earth's defenses had crumbled. Its last outposts, those fragile dreams of reaching the stars, had gone dark one by one. Now the Dravari fleet pressed ever closer, a tide of obsidian and gold. The fate of his species was a weight pressing down on his shoulders, sharp as the Dravari's ceremonial blades. The chamber doors slid open with a hydraulic sigh. Every voice hushed instantly, tension coiling tighter. Archon Lysara entered, and the hall seemed to shrink around her. She was a vision both mesmerizing and menacing, iridescent scales shifting in hue with each step, catching the overhead lights in rivers of green and violet. Her eyes, slitted and gold, moved with predatory grace beneath a regal brow adorned with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with her every thought. Translucent wings, strong and folded, cast flickering shadows on the walls. Her claws flexed, scraping softly against her own palm as she surveyed the room. Her voice, melodic, almost musical, yet threaded with steel, carried across the hall. "Bring forth the accused." Two Dravari guards, armored in black and blue, dragged a battered officer to the foot of the dais. The accused lifted his chin, blood streaking his scales, but his posture remained proud. "I only wish to prevent needless slaughter," he declared, voice unwavering even through the translator's distortion. "The humans are not our enemies." Lysara descended a step, her gaze unreadable, the lights along her brow shifting to a cool indigo. "Their resistance leaves us no choice but annihilation." A murmur of approval rippled through the chamber. General Raz, towering in obsidian armor chased with crimson, stepped forward. His voice boomed, carrying the force of finality. "By order of the Archon and in accordance with the Code of Sovereigns, the sentence is execution." Lysara removed an ornate gauntlet, each movement deliberate, and let it drop with a metallic clang. She extended her bare, luminous hand, scales shimmering like living opal, and placed her claws gently against the officer's brow. The accused met her eyes, defiant. A flare of blinding light erupted between them. The scent of ozone burned in Carter's nostrils. When it faded, the officer collapsed bonelessly to the polished floor, lifeless. The silence that followed was colder than space. Carter steadied himself as Lysara's golden gaze turned to him, sharp as a blade. She descended the dais, wings arching slightly in a gesture that was both threatening and curious. "Envoy Carter remains," she announced, "reckless or brave, a human paradox." He did not look away. "I am here to understand Dravari culture, even its darkest corners." Lysara's pupils narrowed, the lights along her crown flickering with interest. So few seek understanding at the edge of extinction. She considered him, her expression unreadable. A private audience, she decided, to discuss capitulation. "Not capitulation, Archon," Carter replied evenly, though his pulse spiked. "I propose partnership." A ripple of cold amusement moved through the assembled Dravari. General Raz's snort was openly skeptical, echoed by the hiss of armored tails and flicks of scaled wings, but Lysara's curiosity was piqued. She gestured for Carter to follow, her stride purposeful as the crowd parted before her. The corridor to her private suite was lined with pale, living crystal that pulsed with the ship's heartbeat. Inside, the suite was both austere and magnificent, a sweeping chamber with a single vast viewport. Beyond the glass, Earth hung suspended, distant and blue, a lonely jewel amid the dark. Lysara dismissed her guards with a flick of her claw. They left wordlessly, the doors sealing behind them. Carter stepped forward, his voice steady. "We've discovered that human biochemistry could interact with your abilities, maybe even make your deadly touch controllable. If we work together, your power could be focused, not destructive. It could mean peace." Lysara's expression was skeptical, almost predatory. "You expect me to believe this, when none have survived my touch?" "Test me," Carter said, unwavering. "If I survive, we talk peace." She considered him for a long, silent moment. Then, clinical and cautious, Lysara extended her bare hand. Her claws gleamed and light shimmered beneath her scales. Carter took a breath. He did not flinch as her hand hovered near his face, luminous and trembling. The space between them was charged, every Dravari legend about the lethal touch echoing in his mind. But before skin met skin, the ship rocked violently, an explosion somewhere in its depths. Alarms wailed, casting red light across the chamber. Instinct took over. Carter reached out, grabbing Lysara's wrist to steady her as she staggered. Their skin met, palm to scale. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. No flare of pain, no consuming light. Only a spreading warmth where his fingers rested against her skin. Lysara's eyes widened in shock, the bioluminescent patterns along her brow shifting from blue to a faint, startled pink. The scales beneath his touch glowed softly, radiating a gentle hue rather than deadly fire. The doors crashed open. General Raz stormed in, his face contorted in disbelief at the sight before him. Lysara, unscathed, held in contact with a human. Lysara pulled her hand back, cradling her wrist as though uncertain whether to be afraid or amazed. "Confine the envoy," she ordered, her voice trembling with something new, wonder and confusion. "Double the guard." Carter was seized by Dravari soldiers, but as he was led away, he looked back. Lysara stood alone before the viewport, golden eyes fixed on her glowing wrist, the silhouette of Earth reflected in her gaze. For the first time, doubt and hope warred within her. Lysara paced her chambers, her wings twitching in agitation, golden eyes fixed on the patch of scales where Carter's hand had touched her. The iridescent surface was no longer the fierce, shifting azure and emerald of Dravari pride, but had softened to a rose-gold hue that flickered with every restless turn. Her claws flexed and unflexed at her side. She could feel the change not just on her skin, but beneath it. Something new, burning quietly and insistently inside her. She stopped before her private comm panel and, with a clipped command, summoned Chief Biologist Dr. Riven. She kept her left hand, her altered hand, cradled behind her back as she waited. The minutes dragged, punctuated only by the faint hum of the ship and the dull thump of her heart. The doors parted with a hiss, admitting Dr. Riven, his pale scales patterned with the silver insignia of his office. He paused only to bow, the fronds along his head trembling with nervous energy. "You summoned me, Archon?" Without preamble, Lysara extended her hand. "Scan this. Tell me what you see." Riven produced a slender analyzer, his own claws moving deftly over the device as he passed it over her scales. The scanner's light refracted off the rose-gold patch, making it gleam like new forged metal. Riven's brow creased as data scrolled across his lens. Curious, he muttered. Nothing in our data suggests this is possible. Your toxin is lethal to all known life, yet the human survives. And you are changing. Lysara regarded him with a rare hint of vulnerability. It burns. Not pain, but a strange heat. She flexed her fingers, watching the glow pulse beneath her scales. I want to observe the progression. Do not alert Raz or the Council until I command it. Riven bowed again, troubled. As you wish, Archon. I will continue my analysis. He left, leaving Lysara alone with her altered reflection in the viewport's glass. The distant blue curve of Earth shimmered on the horizon, impossibly far and suddenly, inexplicably, near. Elsewhere on the Star Sovereign, Carter examined the so-called diplomatic quarters he'd been assigned. Luxurious by prison standards, silken hangings, a bed fit for a diplomat, a wall-sized screen that cycled between calming planetary vistas, but a cell nonetheless. No comms, no escape, only the quiet presence of two armed Dravari at the door. He flexed his right hand, the one that had touched Lysara. It looked the same, 5 blunt, human fingers, unscarred, unmarked. Yet he could still feel the echo of their contact, the impossible warmth, the sense of standing on the edge of a precipice and finding himself unbroken at the bottom. The doors opened. Dr. Riven entered, flanked by 2 guards. Envoy Carter, we will conduct a full medical evaluation. If you claim human biology can assist us, you must have anticipated scrutiny. Carter nodded, trying to project calm. Of course, I'd expect nothing less. He submitted to the tests, dozens of them. Riven's scanners traced every line of his DNA, mapped his neural impulses, sampled blood, saliva, skin. The hours stretched on, filled with the whir and click of alien machinery and the scientist's unending curiosity. Riven peered at a holo display, fascinated. Your DNA shows markers for adaptation and resilience. You heal quickly, your cells resist our venom, and... This is extraordinary. Your immune system is almost Dravari-like. Carter watched the biologist, looking for any hint of subterfuge. You've found something, haven't you? About why I survived her touch. Riven hesitated, then nodded. Your genome shares peculiar similarities with ours. Structures I believed unique to the Dravari. Certain protein folds, neural pathways. There may be a deeper connection between our species. Before Carter could reply, the door swept open again. Lysara entered, her gloves discarded, her gaze intent. More of her scales now shimmered with that soft pink-gold light, as though the change was spreading. Riven bowed and withdrew, the guards following, leaving Carter and Lysara alone in the silence. She approached, talons clicking softly on the crystalline floor. You gambled with your life, she said, studying him as though seeing him for the first time. Carter's smile was tired but determined. I gambled to save my world. Lysara paused, uncertain, her wings half unfurled behind her. I feel strange. Heat, a racing pulse. My kind do not experience this. Our toxin is precise, controlled, always fatal. Now it is wild, unpredictable. She flexed her altered hand, watching the colors ripple and bloom. Perhaps you're becoming a little more human, Carter teased gently. She snorted, a sound half amused, half disbelieving. She lifted her hand, claws hovering near his cheek. Shall we test the theory, Envoy? He didn't flinch, holding her gaze. Her touch was feather-light, tracing along his jaw. Instead of agony, a gentle warmth blossomed under her fingertips, suffusing his skin with tingling heat. Color flared along her hand, the rose gold spreading like ink through water. Lysara drew back, examining her own palm in wonder. No pain, Carter murmured. No, something else, she whispered. It is as if a part of me is waking up. She looked at him searchingly. You are not what I expected. Elsewhere, in a chamber of obsidian and glass, the council convened in urgency. General Raz stood at the center, voice cold and resonant. Her scales lose their hue where he touches her. Her body temperature rises. Hormones fluctuate. This is not the Archon we know. Elder Sovin, ancient and stooped, raised a trembling claw. Lysara has always adapted to the challenge before her. Perhaps this is evolution, not corruption. Raz's eyes narrowed, slitted and dark. This human is a threat. He has infected her. Perhaps all of us. A dozen voices murmured assent or dissent. The council chamber vibrated with unease, storm clouds gathering in anticipation of something irrevocable. Unaware of the council's machinations, Lysara led Carter through the labyrinthine passages of the royal archives. Ancient glyphs covered the walls, glowing faintly as they passed. Carter's gaze lingered on a mural, Dravari ships sailing across the void, stars swirling above them. He traced a line of symbols with his finger, then pointed to a star map etched in pale silver. These glyphs, they resemble markings we found on Earth. And here, look. These maps predate your earliest recorded history, but they originate from Earth's sector. Lysara's brow furrowed, skepticism and wonder warring in her expression. Impossible. Our records say nothing of this. Our history was complete. Carter smiled gently. Perhaps your ancestors came from Earth, or ours came from yours. She shook her head, but did not pull away as he reached for her hand. Their fingers intertwined, his blunt and warm, hers scaled and delicate. New colors rippled up her arm, sunset pinks and radiant golds, expanding in luminous waves. He met her gaze. Does it hurt? She shook her head, voice soft as starlight. Not pain. Something else entirely. I dreamed of your world last night. Blue seas, endless skies. Is it memory or something more? Carter's grip tightened reassuringly. Maybe both. Maybe we're meant to find each other. Before Lysara could reply, the doors burst open and Dr. Riven rushed in, urgency written across every line of his face. Forgive the intrusion, Archon. There is an emergency council session. General Raz has gathered evidence of your transformation. Lysara's expression hardened, wings drawing in tight. She released Carter's hand but lingered close, her gaze fierce. Keep searching, she told him, voice low and resolute. The truth may be deeper than we know. She swept from the archives, rose-gold scales gleaming, a living mystery, and the axis upon which two worlds now turned. An assassin struck at Carter in the archives, emerging from the shadows with a hiss of steel and venom. You corrupt the Archon, the Dravari snarled, eyes ablaze with fanatic hatred. Carter dodged the first slash, instincts sharpened by years of training kicking in as he rolled behind a pillar. Books and ancient tablets clattered to the floor. The assassin lunged again, blade arcing toward Carter's throat. Carter caught the attacker's wrist, twisting hard, but the Dravari's strength was formidable. They crashed against a data console, glyphs scattering across the screen. This place is sacred! The assassin spat, driving a knee into Carter's ribs. Gasping, Carter fought for leverage, knowing he was outmatched in raw power. The blade nicked his arm, blood welling. The Dravari bared fangs, ready for the killing blow. A ripple of cold air swept through the chamber. Enough, Lysara commanded, her voice ringing like a blade drawn from its sheath. The assassin whirled, hesitation flickering in his eyes. Lysara's bare hand shot out, her claws pressing to the side of his neck. There was a flash, a flare of rose-gold light, and the assassin crumpled, lifeless, scales fading to a dull gray. Carter slumped to the floor, clutching his wounded arm, chest heaving. Lysara knelt beside him, her fingers gentle as she inspected his wound. "You are hurt," she murmured, the rose gold now blooming in earnest across her hand and forearm. "It's nothing," Carter breathed, forcing a wry smile. "I've had worse in training. Thank you." Her eyes lingered on his face, haunted. "My touch. It would have killed you before. Now it only destroys my enemies." He nodded, still shaken. "It seems I bring out the best in you." She helped him up, and together they stepped over the fallen assassin, returning to the ancient texts scattered across the archive. Carter's blood stained the edge of a datapad, but his hands moved with urgency. "I found something before the attack," he said, voice taut. He tapped a sequence, bringing up a hollow projection of DNA strands, their sequences coiling and unfurling like living serpents. "These records aren't just genealogies, they're genetic blueprints." Lysara's eyes narrowed, wings flexing in agitation. "Explain." He gestured at the highlighted segments. "This DNA, right here, it's part human. Your royal line is closer to the original human template than you realize. There's even a name: Project Aurora, Earth's ancient experiment to create survivors for hostile worlds." She recoiled as if struck. "That cannot be our origin. We are Dravari, descended from the firstborn, conquerors of the stars." Carter shook his head gently. "But the evidence is here. Project Aurora was designed to alter human DNA, to make it adaptable, resilient, able to survive anywhere. The Dravari were, descendants of that experiment. Your abilities, your toxin, even the bioluminescence, all safeguards, all adaptations." Lysara stared at the swirling helixes, her composure fraying. "If this is true, it explains our connection. Our genetics recognize each other. That's why your touch changes me." He reached for her hand, and she did not pull away. Their fingers laced, rose gold color rippling up her arm. For a moment they stood in silence, caught in the gravity of revelation. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship, a shrieking klaxon that set the archives vibrating. The lights flickered crimson, casting frantic shadows across the shelves. General Raz's face appeared on a nearby holoscreen, his voice thunderous. "Earth's fleet is attacking. All hands to battle stations. Seize the human. He is their agent." Lysara's expression hardened as she realized the truth. He orchestrated this. Raz staged the attack as an excuse to seize power and eliminate you. She pressed a hidden panel beneath a shelf, and a section of the archive wall slid aside, revealing a narrow passage. "Quickly," she urged. "This way, before Raz's guards arrive." They slipped through the secret corridor, the door sealing behind them. Carter's heart pounded as they hurried down spiraling steps into darkness. The air was thick with the scent of ancient dust and electric fear. They emerged into a hidden chamber, octagonal, lined with obsidian and crystal. At its center stood a pedestal, dormant until Lysara placed her palm upon it. Holograms flickered to life, bathing the room in pale blue light. A woman's image formed before them, translucent but unmistakably real. She was mostly human, her skin fair, her hair dark, but her eyes shimmered gold and faint scales dusted her cheeks. Lysara gasped. The hologram spoke, her voice echoing through the chamber. "I am Syra, once subject A-17 of Earth's Project Aurora. Our skin was made toxic. We escaped destruction and found refuge here. To preserve unity, I hid the truth. Contact with unaltered humans triggers reversion, a safeguard for reunion." Carter stared, awestruck. The woman's features were familiar. A bridge between Dravari and human, the genesis of a lost history. Syra's image continued, her words heavy with regret. "We are children of exile, not conquerors. Our war with Earth is born of fear and forgetting. If you hear this, then reunion is possible. Do not let vengeance consume what we were meant to become. The recording faded, leaving silence in its wake. Lysara trembled, her hands pressed to her heart. Our war with Earth. It's a war on our own origins. We seek vengeance for exile, not conquest. Carter moved to her side, steadying her as her breath grew ragged. The weight of history threatened to crush them both, but he refused to let her fall. He held her close, feeling the heat of her transformation under his palms. Your people need you now, he whispered, his voice soft but urgent. You can stop this war. You can unite what was broken. She looked up at him, her golden eyes wide, filled with pain and hope, and something raw, something achingly human. The distance between them vanished. Lysara reached for him, her lips brushing his, uncertain and searching. Carter met her kiss without hesitation. The contact was electricity and warmth, a mingling of past and possibility. As their lips met, the transformation in Lysara surged, scales along her jaw and neck shifting from iridescent green and blue to a warm, luminous rose gold, her features softening, her skin glowing with a radiance that was neither wholly human nor Dravari, but something new. When they parted, Lysara's golden eyes glowed with an emotion that defied ancient enmities. What was that? She whispered, wonder trembling in her voice. Carter smiled, brushing a stray lock of her hair from her cheek. A new beginning. In Lysara's quarters, beneath the shifting, gentle radiance of bioluminescent patterns, her transformation continued unabated. The air shimmered with quiet anticipation, each flicker of colored light reflecting the changes running beneath her skin. Carter sat beside her on the edge of her sleeping platform, his hand moving slowly across her arm. Where once her scales had been storm-bright and formidable, now they glimmered in a palette of delicate rose gold and blush, the edges softened and warm. He traced these new colors with reverence, his touch light but intent. Her wings, usually held tight with tension, now relaxed against the cushions, their membranes glowing with a subtler, more inviting sheen. Even her claws, once wickedly sharp, had dulled, the talons retracting as if responding to his presence. Lysara drew in a breath, watching Carter's fingers as they explored the map of her altered body. It's overwhelming, she murmured, voice pitched low and raw. The words trembled with both awe and uncertainty. I've never felt this before. When you touch me, it's not pain, it's... She shuddered softly, the admission trembling in the air between them. It's pleasure, not pain. A slow, knowing smile touched Carter's lips. Humans never quite mastered that kind of control. He teased gently, his thumb tracing an iridescent line along her jaw. We just learned to enjoy the chaos. She caught his hand, guiding it to rest above her heart, where the scales had grown nearly translucent. Beneath them, he could feel the wild, erratic flutter of her heartbeat. My heart races when you touch me, she confessed, gaze searching his. Is this normal for humans? Completely, Carter assured her, his hand splaying wider over her chest. Especially when we're with someone who makes us feel alive. A tremor passed through her, the last vestiges of her old self resisting and yielding in equal measure. Lysara cupped his cheek, her palm warm, the bioluminescence beneath her skin casting soft patterns across his face. When the change is complete, will I lose what makes me Dravari? She asked, the question more than scientific. It was a plea, a hope, and a fear all at once. Carter leaned into her hand, his voice steady and kind. You'll be something new, he promised. A bridge between our worlds. Not less, just more. She studied him for a long, quiet moment, her golden eyes searching his for any hint of doubt. Then, deliberately, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, their kiss deep and unhurried. This time, it was not desperation or revelation that drove them, but intent. They moved together, bodies entwining, Lysara surrendering to sensations her people had abandoned in pursuit of power and survival. Her wings wrapped them in a cocoon of soft light, her touch exploring, learning, claiming. For Carter, the danger that had once radiated from Lysara's every movement had become something wondrous, a living promise of transformation and possibility. Her claws, her toxin, the power that had been a weapon now softened into an embrace. He lost himself in the heat of her skin, the quickening of her breath. The strength and vulnerability mingled in every touch. Later, in the hush that followed, Lysara lay beside him, head resting on his chest, her wings draped protectively around them both. The bioluminescence faded to a gentle glow, the room transformed into a sanctuary, safe and secret. "Is it always like this for humans?" she asked, voice muffled against his skin. He laughed, the sound low and contented. "Not always. This was extraordinary. Not just for humans." She lifted her head, tracing idle patterns across his chest, constellations perhaps, or ancient glyphs from the archives. Her touch was thoughtful, her eyes distant. "The council meets in 3 hours," she said at last. "Raz will move against me. He's always been a step ahead, but now I am not who I was." Carter propped himself up on one elbow, studying her face. "We need allies. People who believe in change, who question the old ways." Lysara nodded, her resolve strengthening with each heartbeat. "Riven. He's seen the records. Others too. Those who have doubted the endless war, who have lost kin and faith. If we can show them Syrah's message, if they know the truth about our origins." Her jaw set with determination. It could be enough to tip the balance. He squeezed her hand, grounding her. "The council won't listen to a human, but you, if you stand before them, changed, living proof of what we could be. Then they will have to choose," she finished, her voice steadying. "Between the past and the future, between fear and hope." A silence settled between them, filled with the gravity of what they were about to attempt. Lysara curled into his side, her scales warm against his bare skin. "If we succeed, the war ends," she whispered, as if afraid to speak the hope too loudly. "A new era begins. And us?" she added, vulnerability threading her words. Carter turned, brushing his lips across her brow. "I want to face it together," he said quietly. "Whatever comes, I'm with you." She smiled, the expression softer than any she had worn in her previous life. For a moment, neither spoke, each lost in the enormity of the choice they had made and the battle that still lay ahead. The ship's comm chimed, its tone sharp and insistent, shattering the quiet. Lysara reached for her robe, standing gracefully, her wings folding close. The message was brief. Raz's voice clipped and formal. "Archon Lysara, you are summoned to the council chamber. Attend immediately." She met Carter's gaze, her own eyes alight with resolve and something gentler. "It starts now," she said. Together they dressed in silence, Lysara in the ceremonial garb of the Archon, Carter in the finest garments the Dravari could provide. As they stepped out into the corridor, arm in arm, the bioluminescence along her skin bloomed brighter, casting a glow that seemed to illuminate not just the hall, but the uncertain path ahead. In the council chamber, all eyes turned as Lysara strode through the great arched doors, her transformation visible in every step. The rose-gold glow of her altered scales shimmered along her cheekbones and hands, her wings half unfurled, casting iridescent light over the polished obsidian floor. Carter followed at her side, his presence a living challenge to centuries of Dravari law. General Raz stood at the center, his armor gleaming with the cold precision of a predator prepared to strike. A ripple of murmurs swept through the council as Lysara took her place, and Raz's face twisted into a mask of triumph. "There she is," he announced, his voice carrying through the amphitheater. "The Archon, contaminated by human touch. She is no longer Dravari. This is the price of consorting with our enemy." Lysara lifted her chin, letting the bioluminescent patterns along her brow flare defiantly. "It is not contamination," she said, her voice unwavering. "It is revelation." With a gesture, she summoned the holographic projector at the heart of the chamber. Images sprang to life, genetic helixes spinning, centuries-old records unfurling, and at their center, the face of Archon Sira. Project Aurora, Lysara continued, was Earth's attempt to seed the stars with life able to survive anything. Our royal line carries the signature of humanity. We are not invaders. We are kin. Dr. Riven stepped forward from the periphery, eyes bright with conviction. "I have examined the evidence. The resemblance to human DNA is clear. Our toxin, our strength, even our memories, they began as safeguards for survival, not weapons for conquest." The chamber erupted in outrage and disbelief. Raz slammed a gauntleted fist onto the table, voice booming. "Enough! These are lies, meant to undermine our unity. The Archon's mind has been turned. I demand emergency powers to restore order." The council's oldest member, Elder Sovan, raised a trembling hand. "We must vote." The verdict was swift and cold. The council voted against Lysara, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. "Guards, detain the Archon and the human for quarantine," Raz commanded. As soldiers advanced, Riven slipped a data crystal into his sleeve and touched a hidden control. The floor beneath Lysara, Carter, and Riven shimmered with blue light. In a blink, they vanished from the chamber. They rematerialized in Riven's lab, alarms already wailing. The scientist moved quickly, activating barriers and inputting frantic commands. "We have minutes before they override the lockout," Riven warned, gesturing to a side hatch. "The Royal Shuttle, Dawn's Promise, is ready in the launch bay. Go, both of you." Lysara's eyes met Riven's, gratitude and concern warring within her. "Come with us," she urged. "We need you." Riven shook his head. "I'll help from within. Someone must guide the others and spread the truth. I believe in you, Lysara." With a final, urgent nod, Lysara and Carter sprinted for the shuttle. They boarded just as security teams breached the lab, the docking clamps releasing with a shuddering clang. The Dawn's Promise launched into the star-flecked void, leaving the flagship behind. Carter strapped in, hands racing over the controls, while Lysara opened a direct channel to Earth's fleet. Admiral Vega's holographic form flickered onto the console, his eyes wary but alert. "Archon Lysara," he said, "your fleet is divided and General Raz is preparing for war. What is your intent?" "Everything has changed," Lysara replied, her voice fierce. "Hold your attack and await my signal. We have proof that our war is a lie. I'll transmit the records now." As Vega watched, Lysara sent Sira's message and genetic data to her loyal officers. Across the Dravari fleet, ships wavered, some breaking away from Raz's command, their allegiance shifting as the truth spread like wildfire. The line between enemy and ally blurred, hope flaring where there had only been fear. "Our hope lies at Relay Station Sigma," Carter said, scanning the star charts. "It controls the main communications relay. If we reach it first, we can broadcast Syra's message to the entire fleet." Lysara nodded. "Commander Vera holds the station. She taught me everything I know about command and honor. If anyone will listen, it's her." As the shuttle angled toward the station, Lysara sent a secure message, her words urgent but steady. "Vera, this is Lysara. I bring truth, not rebellion. Please, Review the data. Let us through. For a tense moment, there was silence. The defense grid flickered to life, targeting systems spinning up. Then the defenses powered down, and Vera's face appeared, her expression grave, but not unkind. I have reviewed the evidence, Archon, Vera said. You may dock. The truth will be heard. Inside the control center, Vera and her officers listened as Lysara played Syrah's full message for all to see. The effect was immediate: shock, disbelief, then a surge of hope. Vera made her decision swiftly, broadcasting the truth to every ship, Dravari and human alike. Chaos erupted among the Dravari. Civil war flickered to life as ships turned on their former allies, some joining Lysara's cause, others rallying behind Raz. The comm channels became a storm of pleas, accusations, and calls for unity. Carter stood at Lysara's side, watching the map as Raz's flagship broke away, a vengeful spear tip aimed straight at Earth. He'll destroy it, Lysara realized, horror dawning in her eyes. Not for conquest. Out of vengeance. He cannot accept what we are. She met Vera's gaze. We need every ship that will follow. We must intercept Raz before he reaches Earth. Vera bowed. You have my loyalty, Archon. The chase through the stars was desperate and swift. Dravari ships loyal to Lysara flanked the Dawn's promise, while human vessels formed a defensive perimeter around their wounded homeworld. Raz's fleet, black and furious, thundered ahead, engines burning with single-minded wrath. Above the blue and green curve of Earth, the two armadas faced each other, weapons charged but silent. On every bridge, soldiers and officers waited, breath held, history balanced on a knife's edge. Lysara stepped forward on the bridge of her shuttle, voice ringing over the comms. General Raz, I invoke the right of challenge. No more bloodshed. Meet me in single combat as our ancestors decreed. Raz's face, cold and merciless, appeared on the view screen. So be it, traitor. Come and face your fate. A battered carrier, drifting above the planet, became their arena. Both fleets watched as Lysara and Raz touched down on its ruined flight deck, the winds of Earth swirling around them. Raz stood unchanged, every line of his armored body radiating lethal intent. His claws gleamed, toxin ready. You are not Dravari anymore, he spat. You are nothing. Lysara's rose-gold scales shimmered, her features calm and resolute. I am more than I was. I choose unity, not destruction. The duel began. Raz struck first, a hurricane of claws and fury, but Lysara moved with new grace, every motion controlled. She parried, deflecting, never striking to kill. The watching crews saw her restraint and strength, her refusal to become what Raz had always feared. Raz roared, driving her back. Lysara feinted, using his momentum against him, and finally disarmed him, sending his blade skittering across the deck. She stood over him, breathing hard. I will not destroy my past, she declared, voice carrying over the silent comms, but I choose my future. She turned and walked away, leaving Raz kneeling, defeated but alive. For a heartbeat, all was still. Then, one by one, the ships powered down their weapons. The war was over. Peace had begun. In the weeks that followed, Lysara and Carter found themselves at the heart of a new world, one neither had dared imagine when the first shot of war was fired. The great ships that once carried destruction now ferried diplomats, scientists, and families between Earth and the Dravari home moon. Healing, slow and halting at first, began to take root in the scarred soil of both civilizations. Dravari who wished to embrace their human heritage came forward in growing numbers. Some were young, curious, and eager, others old warriors weary of battle. Each one underwent the transformation under the careful supervision of Dr. Riven and a council of Earth's leading scientists. The procedure was voluntary, a choice rather than a mandate. a lesson painfully learned from the years of forced change and exile. Many chose to transform, their scales shifting to luminous hues, their eyes softening to warm amber or jade. Some remained unchanged, yet laid down their arms, choosing peace over pride. There were moments of resistance. Not all Dravari could accept what they had learned. Some retreated into isolation, clutching their traditions and memories of lost grandeur. Yet for every wall raised, there was a door opened. Old enemies breaking bread, children teaching each other games beneath alien skies, songs sung in two languages that became one. The first wedding between a Dravari and a human was held in the restored gardens of Earth, where cherry blossoms drifted on a gentle wind and silver-leafed trees cast dappled shadows across the grass. Lysara stood in the soft light, radiant and transformed. Her skin was no longer the rigid armor of a warrior, but a living tapestry, swirling iridescence that caught the sun and scattered it in 1,000 directions. Her wings, once formidable, had become delicate and ethereal, a shimmering veil that danced with every breath. Her eyes, deep and knowing, shone with a warmth that was neither human nor Dravari, but something entirely new. Carter waited for her at the altar, clad in simple formal wear that blended the best of both worlds. A tailored jacket adorned with the subtle patterns of Dravari glyphs, a sash of earth blue silk. He looked at Lysara with unguarded wonder as she approached, every step a promise of the future they were forging. The ceremony was simple, witnessed by both peoples. Dravari and human guests lined the aisles, admirals and elders, scientists and children, all gathered in a fragile, blossoming unity. As Lysara reached Carter, their hands found each other easily, as if every war and heartbreak had led them to this moment. Lysara spoke first, her voice steady but thick with emotion. "I once believed my touch was a curse, that I was made to destroy. But now I see, I was remade to love, to hope, to choose a new path." Carter squeezed her hands, his own voice trembling. "You showed me that peace is more than an end to war. It's the courage to reach across the void, to change, to become more than what we were." Their kiss was slow and sure, not desperate but full of hope and certainty. The applause that followed was not merely for them, but for the possibility that their union represented. For a moment, old hatreds faded, replaced by the thrill of something new being born. That night, beneath a sky bright with unfamiliar constellations, Lysara and Carter danced among friends and strangers. She laughed freely, unburdened by the expectations of her former title, spinning in the arms of her husband. Carter whispered promises in her ear, each one a pebble in the foundation of the world they were building. The celebration spilled into dawn, a tapestry of stories and music and possibility. Later, on the Dravari home moon, Lysara stood on a balcony at the palace's edge, watching the first light spill across the city's crystalline domes. Her scales, alive with shifting color, caught the dawn and cast it outward in a mosaic of rose and gold. Below, the streets were alive with the bustle of a new day, Dravari and human traders mingling in the market, children darting between the fountains, laughter ringing where once only orders had echoed. Carter joined her, slipping his arms around her waist. "Riven just sent the latest reports," he said, voice low and content. "Dozens more volunteers for the transformation. There are waiting lists now, on both sides." Lysara rested her head against his shoulder, thoughtful. "Not all will choose this," she said quietly, her gaze drifting over the city below. "But now, at least, they can choose. That's what matters." He nodded, his chin brushing her hair. "Some will always fear change, but most—" He gestured to the square, where a group of children, Dravari and human alike, chased a rolling sphere in a game of pure, unself-conscious joy. Most just want a chance to live, to play, to dream. They watched as the children tumbled in the grass, shouting in blended languages, the boundaries of old divisions lost on their young hearts. In their laughter, Lysara heard an echo of her own past, pain, anger, longing, and marveled at the peace that had come, fragile yet real. "When I first touched you," Lysara whispered, her voice trembling with memory, "I thought it was a curse. I was certain I would bring only death. But you showed me what it means to hope, to feel, to choose love over fear." Carter turned her gently, covering her hand with his, the simple gesture grounding them both. "We chose each other," he said, voice fierce with quiet conviction. "That's how it starts. That's how it always starts." The bells of the Unity Hall rang out then, their deep musical chimes echoing across the city. It was the signal for the day's first council, a gathering not of conquerors and subjects, but of partners. The great marble halls that once resounded with proclamations of war were now filled with the sound of debate, of plans, of shared laughter and arguments. Carter pressed a kiss to Lysara's knuckles, her scales cool and vibrant beneath his lips. She didn't let go. "Together," she said, her voice ringing with certainty. They walked forward, hand in hand, no longer Archon and envoy, not alien and human, but two souls who had found each other at the edge of extinction, stepping into a future they would build side by side. As the doors to the council opened before them, sunlight flooding the chamber, their shadows mingled on the floor, a living symbol of hope, unity, and the endless, audacious possibility of love. That's the end of the story. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.